Welcome to Review Ed. It is March 30th. We are going to talk today about a number of things, but definitely Blackboard has to be on there. We have a guest to talk about that. We're talking about studentpreneurs and echoing some themes from our CK12 or C12 show. We'll talk about CK12 too, actually. Talking about UNC's new program with Tutor and really how that may, I hope, set a standard for some online education and some replicable models. And then also talking about retina graphics on the Khan Academy iPad app and what that new tool continues to mean for us, and also looking at Kickstarter, crowdfunding, and a particular project that is of interest to us. Finally, wrapping up with some chat about homework and getting the French perspective on that. So join me and my host, co-host Kirsten Winkler, for Review Ed this week.
This is Review Ed episode 22, recorded March 30th, 2012. Blackboard buys some open source and the French homework revolution. This episode of Review Ed is brought to you by Academic Pub, your book, your way. Academic Pub allows you to take content from their copyright-cleared library of over 125 publishers, your files or anything on the web, and create custom course packs that are perfect for you. Visit them today at www.academicpub.com and follow them on Twitter at Academic Pub. Welcome everyone, new episode of Review Ed. My name is Kirsten Winkler. With me is of course my co-host Mr. Christopher Dawson. We have an interview segment this week with Richard Byrne of freetechforteachers.com, and he gives us his take on the recent big news about Blackboard acquiring Moodlerooms and another open source startup, and the implications, feelings we or everybody probably in the education community has towards this acquisition. And Chris, we have a few other stories. Let's maybe start with the studentpreneurs. A few stories here about, we had this in some of the previous talks, that we see a little bit the trend that younger and younger people, for various reasons, get into entrepreneurship, also get money. It's easier to raise money. So this program seems to be a little bit different than the normal incubator programs, as to me the article feels that the two co-founders are 19 and 20 as well, but they have a history of doing hackathons over the weekend, and now they want to make this a longer summer program for, I think high school seniors.
Mostly high school, right.
Yeah, and give them some more sort of education around entrepreneurship, so that they maybe make the first steps into that or get more educated about it, not necessarily saying that they should become edupreneurs right finishing right after high school.
I think we talked about something very similar, more also focusing on teacherpreneurship as well, over on C12 with Shelley Blake Block. Working on this idea that our students are incredibly innovative, and they do great things. We want them to do great things, but yet we're not providing them opportunities to really be thinking and acting and working entrepreneurially. So really quite a nice opportunity, I think, and I think it's it seems to be a more kind of reasoned approach than what we've seen with some of these other, hey, let's throw a bunch of money at a student-run startup and expect it to work. Taking more, this incubation approach it works across lots of business lines. So, be very interested to see where they can take this. But, it's an opportunity, and high school students who have so some inkling that they may want to go there. It's a big bad world out there, and you have to get a sense of what it really means before you can just can jump on into the whole thing.
I also think they spend the summer like others do an internship over the summer as well, and then can decide, that might be something for me later on after college. And
right.
For me, as a side note, the Airy Labs issue with their investors is still not finished. So
right.
Another opportunity for students comes from Microsoft. Microsoft, of course, maybe not pushing hard, but definitely pushing Windows 8, and we have that on various fronts. They also make a really good deal offering a smartphone for under $100, and then have you heard of this? You can go in a store with your smartphone and then you play a little game, compete with a Windows 8 phone, with a little bit of backlash what they had, but I think it's not necessarily the Microsoft overall strategy. It was probably just a stupid shop employee who didn't have a lot to say or flexibility. So basically they try innovative marketing moves to push Windows Phone. They also have, I have to say, at least to my mind, quite a good campaign pushing the new Internet Explorer, and it doesn't feel so maybe so
Stodgy.
Microsoft, so old, or wanting something too much. And I read the first survey, so people seem to be changing their opinion of Microsoft and try to accept it a little bit more. I mean, they are not Google or Apple yet, and probably also don't want to be, but I think showing some nice, more modern aspects, and maybe it will make some more people interested in what they are doing, and I think with Windows 8 they really try to come out with an innovative product that sort of a new feel to Microsoft. And this initiative is, I would say, part of that, or at least something interesting for students, as they let them develop apps for the building ecosystem for the Windows Phone, and sort of again this approach of bringing young people into this world of developing stuff, and not only so being creative and creating something, I guess, and not only consuming, right. And I think I mean, a lot of the big companies do that, but for Microsoft it's somewhat something new, and I kind of like it.
I like it too. And I will say that there is certainly interest among young people in Windows Phone 8. I think because Androids is, you can get Android phones pretty cheaply, and they're nice phones, there's cool stuff, but, it isn't the Apple user experience. No matter how much you might like Android, not everyone can afford an iPhone or the latest and greatest in the upgrade cycle. Windows is a familiar thing. At the very least, it has some very strong brand recognition, and students, when they're at school, chances are they're using Windows. So it still has huge market share. So the idea of being able to bring that experience in a positive way to the phone, the Windows Phone 7 actually was a pretty good operating system. It's just not as sexy as some of the other stuff. Yeah. So, but there's definitely interest.
Been the big problem that they have been very enterprise, and when I think of this, what was it? Was it only an was it only advertising on the internet, or did it even come to TV? This thing about Google and what Microsoft did lately, and I think that was pretty terrible.
Yeah, but, and Google has started spending a lot of money on traditional media, which is kind of strange. But I mean, I think they see that. Apple remains their biggie, but they are also making a very significant enterprise play, and if students, young people become Windows people as students, they're going to stay Windows people. If you buy into the Google ecosystem in high school because your school has Google Apps and you do an Android tablet deployment, well, you know what, you're going to be a Google person. So it's smart, no matter how enterprise-oriented you are, all these people are going to end up working in the enterprise, and they're going to bring their technology with them. I don't hold a huge amount of hope for Windows sort of turning over the mobile market, but if they can reach beyond the enterprise, where mobile SharePoint really is very cool, they've got some really and actually some of their pushes into education using SharePoint, for people who have the savvy and the money to support it, there's some great collaboration features. This is an interesting move. And I think we're going to, 2012 may be the year that we at least don't just dismiss Microsoft in the world of sort of collaborative education and mobile technology.
Right, and I think currently their market share is, I don't know, but in the lower one-digit %. So, honestly, I would like to see that grow a little bit, but I mean, I haven't a Windows phone yet. I might try, just see how the experience is. Everything I have heard so far is not against that, but of course, I think we can assume an iPhone 5 on the horizon, not too soon, and then it's of course the big question. If you go for one smartphone, I mean, if you have plans on every carrier, then you might allow yourself a Windows phone as well and simply compare, and probably it'll have some features you like better, but if you're a person like me, one smartphone, then you simply have to make your choice where you think you have the overall better experience and the more apps also, if that counts for you. But I mean,
well, I think it's also
an initiative, yeah.
It is. Well, I think also, we look at the Windows slate and we look at the current tablet market, which is all iPad, and now that Google has announced that they will be selling co-branded tablets directly through a Google online store, obviously Google recognizes that something needs to happen to the iPad juggernaut if it would like to remain competitive in mobile. It's not just about the phones anymore. I mean, I think we're getting to that post-PC sort of feel, and I think Microsoft is recognizing this. I think that's actually where there's perhaps even more interest among young people, is to see what the Windows slate will really look like, and can Microsoft bring something to the table that Android has obviously not been able to. So, and as students do one-to-one, and we look more and more at what does a college student want to take to class? Does it make sense to be working on a device that is just 100% compatible and actually looks a whole heck of a lot like that computer sitting back in their dorm room? There's certainly some opportunities here, and I think Android's left some holes open, and the iPad's brilliant, but there's room, so it'll be great.
Mentioning iPad, news from your new iPad and the experience. How what have you been for what have you been using it so far, and how do you like it?
It's funny because, I have tablets kind of come and go, and I generally have at least a few tablets hanging around. And this is the first tablet that I have used, I won't say more than my computer because I've been writing a lot, but I use it a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's the sort of thing that, if nothing else, I make sure I have my iPad with me. And I think just because the visual experience, at least for me, is I actually prefer Android to iOS, but that Retina display, And it gets me, and every time I sit down on another computer and I look at even a pretty high resolution monitor, I think, oh, well, it's not Retina. And,
you got
gosh,
spoiled by by the iPad within 2 weeks already.
Yeah, I'm actually really it does spoil you, and to look at just a standard resolution monitor now. It's a disappointing experience. So, the other thing that's interesting, of course, there are a growing number of apps now that are optimized for the Retina display. Con just optimized their iPad app for Retina. It looks really nice, and it's the sort of thing you don't mind looking at for a long time. And for those of us who have a screen in front of us for whatever reason, pretty much all the time, something that's easy on the eyes and is visually absorbing. It's great. If I could, if the MacBook Air, which I understand is possibly the next target for Retina, I would probably sell my MacBook Air as well, and have to, because it really is, it's easier to look at, and so a student who's spending a lot of time reading, I've also found actually I've never spent enough time with a tablet to be able to touch type effectively. Now that I spend all my time with my iPad, I can touch type. My kids, they have no issue with it, and because they didn't really learn. I mean, they're just the older ones touch type, the younger ones haven't. They actually find it easier. It's a little more compact. It's something for them. So I don't know. I gotta say that it's pretty slick. The new Khan Academy app is fully optimized, and it looks really nice. It's a more important feature than even I expected it to be. So
Jobs was right once again. You don't need a physical keyboard anymore. The kids and even yourself now are getting used to it are the proof. And on the other hand, what's it like, those optimized apps when I use my desktop, for example, and go on some of these very nicely designed and beautiful sites like The Verge, for example. It takes a lot of time to load, at least here with my setup and my connection. Is the Khan Academy iPad app then as snappy as we are used to it, or does it need longer that the app loads?
That's a good question. Yeah. Once it loads, you're good, and you're leveraging a pretty powerful processor. So once it's there, you're fine. If you're on a high bandwidth connection, you're fine. But absolutely, this is what we have talked about before. That it's a real challenge for providers and for schools looking to adopt this as well. It's an issue, and I think that certainly with the apps, they come down that higher resolution, and the videos. Of course, the videos can be stored locally on the Khan Academy app, but basically it's a portal into streaming, and just like YouTube or whatever else. So it is. That resolution is an issue, and we're already seeing people with massive overage charges because they don't realize that even just the app itself is really significantly larger. The other thing I have found, I am sorely disappointed I only got the 16 gigabyte model because it's full.
Already.
Oh yeah, and that was I've got music on there and whatever, but all it takes is one HD movie and the standard assortment of apps, and
right, they are getting simply bigger, taking full advantage of the Retina display. There are also some downsides coming along with that.
Yeah. Well, I think as well that with the Retina display, people are pushing to get something out that will support this, so they haven't really had time to think about optimization of the code. And so you've got some pretty bloated apps that in 6 months we'll see that shake out and app sizes are going to come back down. But for right now, it is not hard to blow out a data plan if you have it, or to if you happen to be on a slower connection. Go get a cup of coffee. We'll bring down some review.
Right. We have a story, news story from the University of North Carolina. launching a new online graduate program that's for their Master of Public Administration. So short version is MPA at UNC, and they do this in collaboration with Tutor. So Tutor are a provider out of New York City, and they have already had partnerships with several rather high-profile universities, and so sort of hand-selected or hand-picked programs, and they provide the universities with their online experience then. Now they added a new program, good for Tutor, I think, hopefully also good for the University of North Carolina. Have you ever maybe not got in touch with Tutor, but read about them, heard about them, as they get, maybe not buzz, but they get articles in the big magazines, Forbes, and so on. So
certainly higher profile.
Education, yeah, definitely. So what do you think about that?
You know, I think it's going to come. It's just representative of a really important business model and business opportunities as well. Schools have lots of technology available to them, especially in higher ed, and that's great. But when it comes down to delivering a really outstanding online experience, that's not something that people have a lot of expertise in, and being able to outsource that is really critically important. You have companies like Dell who are buying up services providers. HP is now, really, they've combined their PC and their printer division, and they're refocusing on services. IBM, these big companies who are focusing on services and then outsourcing those IT services and hosted services to schools and businesses. That model, I think, is absolutely going to carry here. Obviously, online education is where it's at, especially for busy working adults, but beyond that as well, and we're going to see really huge growth. I mean, Forrester has called for exponential growth in online education. So it's going to come down to some great providers who can deliver best practices and who can deliver a replicable product, and obviously, why reinvent the wheel? If you have something like Tutor who can really deliver the goods and give almost a turnkey solution, so that the school can focus on the teaching and focus on the curriculum, and let someone else really help deliver. That's the way that the rest of the business world has been moving. It's about time everyone else caught up.
And also for Tutor, I mean, it's not completely risk-free. So they have, of course, a lot of funding on the one hand, which is good. So they are not necessarily investing their own money, but other people's money. But they sort of go in advance. So when they choose to collaborate with a university or college, I think they choose carefully, and they really want to make it a good experience for everybody involved.
Right.
And so therefore it's not completely, of course, in the end, they are a for-profit company, but I mean, they give something to the other side as well. So,
well, certainly, especially these folks who are kind of early in the process, they need to come out of the gates with this being a flagship product, and something they can hold up just as well as UNC can hold it up to potential students and recruits. So, I think there's actually an incentive to almost be an early adopter in this case. Tutor certainly has a solid reputation, and they've made some very nice kind of collaborations in the past. It sounds like this is going to be more of the same. But again, getting to a replicable place with this, we still have a lot of people who are just rolling their own, and that works in small scale, but at large scale, that becomes a very challenging thing to do.
I have one small announcement to make. So now, as you have your own show, C12, on the EduQuest network, you have just recorded with Kai the second episode, and your guests, of course. And we thought, well, you take over more responsibility, you have your own show. I think you need a title, and I'm very happy that you agreed, and we made Christopher the senior editor for EduQuest, and I'm very happy that you are getting more and more involved and help me shape it the way we see online education and our media network growing in the future, and just wanted to make this public. And
well, thank you. No, it's an honor and a pleasure, really.
So then, honor and a pleasure. You also get some duties. And why don't you now, as a senior editor, why don't you make or talk a little bit about our sponsor this week, which is Academic Pub, and tell us a little bit more, our listeners and our viewers, what Academic Pub are doing.
Academic Pub, yeah, I took a look at them briefly over on C12 as well, and sponsoring that, and thank you, Academic Pub. But Academic Pub is sort of it's this wonderful tool for curating content, and you have on Academic Pub there's 2.5 million pieces of cleared copyright materials, most of which are from peer-reviewed journals. You have open and online journals. You have 125 publishers contributing these pieces of content that can be used and remixed and put together, as well as being able to add your own content. So now we're reaching this highly vetted content. We have teacher-contributed content, and then we can package that all up into a digital form to share with our students, or they actually will handle publishing services as well to go ahead and create your book. And we've talked about that quite a bit before, the value of companies who are able to do this and not just sort of sell a PDF of a textbook and call it interactive. But now we have the ability to pick and choose high quality resources from a vast store and put it into something that's usable for our students. That's what it should be. You have peer recommendations. You have course material solutions. They even provide solutions for bookstores. So definitely follow them on Twitter at academic-pub, or get them on Facebook, facebook.com/academic-pub, and academic-pub.com. So definitely check out Academic Pub.
And we thank them so much, of course, for supporting your show, for supporting Review Ed. We are very happy, as we are, of course, a little bit depending also on support from the outside, even though we love what we do.
We do occasionally have to pay the bills, but I have to say that with this product in particular, my enthusiasm is definitely not based on their sponsorship. It's this is one of those tools we've been looking for. We talked with Mentor Mob this morning over on C12, and same thing. It's one of those curation tools that is so important that allows teachers to do really great things with content of their own choosing, and that's something that the promise has been there for many years now, and no one has been able to deliver on it. So I'm thrilled to see providers like Academic Pub being able to.
What else do we have? What stories were important to you this week, Chris?
Well, obviously the Blackboard thing. We had to talk about that. That was kind of a biggie. Yeah. I did come across a Kickstarter project though, and for those of you not familiar with Kickstarter, it's this great platform of social lending, growth funding, right? So if you have an idea, most of which tend to be sort of creative or educational or in the arts, things that the average investor or bank wants absolutely nothing to do with, but that have merit in and of themselves, you can get your project out on Kickstarter, and you pick a level of funding that you're looking for, you put the project out there, you describe it, and you see if people fund it, and they fund it bit by bit or in very large sums, and if you reach your target, then you get funded, and if you don't, well, then you try again or take another approach. But the Kickstarter project that I found, it's been funded. They actually exceeded their goal of $25,000. They're up to $31,000 with 426 backers. It's called Spark Lab, and basically what is this group of it's a group of Stanford students who realized that many schools simply don't have the resources to do real project-based learning, experiential learning, so they wanted to create a mobile lab that would allow for that. And so they believe that the creation of this lab will allow, perhaps not for extended periods or as a matter of course, but at least allow students to take a unit to learn something in a project-based way at the schools that simply can't. It was actually pretty brilliant on their Kickstarter project. They had a cute little card from a student who was just thrilled, and it was the best class they'd ever taken. But it is pretty amazing when you watch a student's eyes light up because they're experiencing something. It's all well and good to have a teacher stand and deliver, and lecturing is important and it has to happen. But this is a very different approach, and I'm glad they got funded. Hopefully they are able to bring this together and get students engaged. But they look like they've got a big truck, and hopefully it's filled with all sorts of wonderful things. But wanted to talk about the importance of experiential learning, of course, but also of Kickstarter and of new ways to get what you need. I encountered social lending for the first time this week, and I've been trying to do some things on my house, and banking is a mess, and the housing industry is a mess. Well, there's this great social lending thing it's new and it makes people uncomfortable, and yet it's a way of making things happen when traditional approaches don't work, and when there's an unmet need, but other people don't necessarily understand your unmet need yet. Things like Kickstarter allow people to get that need out there.
Absolutely. So we should say Kickstarter is sort of focused on the United States, and I know we have a big audience, of course, coming from the United States. There are other crowdfunding platforms for our international viewers or listeners. For instance, Indiegogo. You can post from all over the world, basically, and also invest money in one of the projects. I think for people in education who really want to either build something for their school, or maybe, yes, as you said, an app or a tool, or even a platform, Kickstarter seems to be great when you are in the engineering developer space. Maybe some others are a little bit broader, but I think it's great, and they take a very little percentage. I think Kickstarter takes 5%, Indiegogo takes 4% of the total amount then for the platform. And on Indiegogo, you also have to, you get all the money. So for instance, they asked for 25,000. Now they got 31,000, so they are absolutely safe. They have a plus. If they got only 20,000, for instance, on Kickstarter, the project would have been not been successful. On Indiegogo, you can also claim your 20,000 then. I think. As you mentioned, social lending, more crowdfunding platforms, microfinance for the developing world, more and more approaches in society, and I think that's also something really important, and I personally also like to support students on Vitana, for example, and so that's really a new innovative approach to the traditional go to the bank or go to your venture capitalist.
Your personal venture capitalist. I think if nothing else, this recession has taught us, though, that many parts of the banking system are broken, and there are alternatives. So, and I think those alternatives have emerged because of unmet need in the market. It means that if you have an idea, there's opportunities. Having a great idea doesn't mean you're going to go become a millionaire and change the world, but there's maybe a few more chances for you to go become a millionaire and change the world. So that's never a bad thing. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, so we covered a story on C12 about the French and homework, and we have French parents who are boycotting homework, and that's the sort of thing that
I can't imagine.
The States, that's boycotting homework. What? You can't do that. It's homework. You got to get it done. So I figured I'd get the perspective of someone actually living in France on homework.
So I come from a very similar background to you. In Germany, you get home at around 2 p.m., 3 p.m., and then it's normal that your teachers give you homework that you dedicate some time in the afternoon or evening to. In France, the system is so it's a completely different mindset. First thing is the kids, even the young kids in elementary school, basically go to school all day long. So they come, the youngest come out of school at around 4:30, and later on it can be 5 p.m., 5:30, so quite late. They have a longer lunch break, but it is, I think, a system that wants to support mothers being able to work, and also full-time work. Full-time sometimes in France means 35 hours, so it's not really what we maybe see as the hardest working people in the world, but the mindset then is from most of the parents and also most of the teachers that education is separated. So education happens in the families, but the other education about what kids have to know happens in school, and completely in school. The parents have never gotten really involved into homework. It is not really appreciated that kids take extra help, like take private lessons or something. Some, I did this at the very beginning coming to France, people not only challenged people, but or challenged students, struggling students, but some wanted to boost their score a little bit towards their A-levels. And I also had some struggling students. I gave homework help, but it has always been like this. We don't want to make it public. Please don't talk to the school teacher. As in the article, as you pointed out, the teachers believe if the student doesn't get it in school, doesn't get the exercise, the principal, how can they get it at home? And taking a person, a teacher, an educator, to give them this extra help is somewhat out of their mindset for a lot of people. And if the parents want that because they realize their kid is struggling, it is often to their wish to keep it under wraps when talking with other parents, for example, but they are a little bit more open towards other parents, but they are pretty afraid, you could even say, or even aware that they don't want to cause their kids problems in school, telling the teacher he or she now gets extra help like twice a week, for example, because teachers in France, in the public education system, always react like, but it's not necessary, why do you do that? And it's a little bit, some teachers even give the kids not credit, but the opposite. So they even punish them a little bit by, on the one hand, you have to admit, okay, the kid is getting bad marks in school, so something is going wrong.
Right.
But on the other hand, I don't recommend your parents that you take private lessons with somebody. It's not necessary. So it's a very weird dynamics, and amongst some teachers also this reception of the parents think we don't teach well, and I think they don't teach well if the kids are struggling and not meeting the class objective, and it's not so few cases or exceptional cases. So it's a certain percentage of school children, but France has still a very hierarchic system, and you shouldn't criticize the teacher, but they have been teaching the same way for the last 20 years, and so why change, and so on. Right. But some really weird dynamics, and coming from the States or coming from Germany at the beginning, it was very strange to see, as in Germany, if something is not going in the right direction, of course you pay somebody or you go to an association, organization, whatsoever to get help, and not maintaining the same and keep going, and no, you don't need an extra push.
Huh.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I like it in some ways. I like the idea that, you know, students can be in school longer and you're getting direct help, and I could imagine all the wonderful things that could happen in an extended school day. And we've had, you know, pushes for extended day learning here that, by and large, fall on their face because parents say, no, I gotta get home at 2 and go do sports, or, you know, it's again, a very different mindset. But, you know, I think there's certainly value, but obviously it's gotta be, balanced with, you know, just
from the parents, I mean, you always have the sort of more forward-looking, and also now looking that their kids might want to study abroad or even get a job abroad later on, and not only being so putting France in the center of everything. But a lot of parents say, school day is over, we come home, everything is finished, so we don't have to bother with school, that's the teacher's job, and now we are the family, and yeah, we want to do sports or family life simply.
Right. That's just not actually a terrible perspective, so that's interesting. The last thing I just wanted to call out just quickly, CK12 has a lot of great open source learning content, started by a bunch of Silicon Valley guys who realized that something better needed to happen than what was currently happening, and now they're actually launching. They're calling it their version 2.0, and it's in beta right now. But it's well worth taking a look at. They're moving. They obviously want to continue creating full open source textbooks, but again, like we see with Academic Pub and MentorMob and all these other things that allow you to curate bite-sized chunks of resources. Now CK12 is introducing these smaller, they call them concepts, but it's smaller chunks of information that can then be put together to form a greater whole. And then that's, again, putting the onus on the instructor to choose what's right for their students and to differentiate instruction, all these things that teachers are supposed to be doing. And I think it's awful easy to go find sort of turnkey curricula, but that's exactly the same thing we've been doing for the last however many years with the textbooks we have. So I think CK12 has recognized this, and I applaud them for it. There's great textbooks there, but there are now also great, more individualized and smaller resources.
Absolutely, and maybe they could do the same, that you can take something from a textbook and then enhance it with your own materials, or even let your students build something what suits them best, how they think they can learn a better way, or something, and with all the great analytics tools when we monitor students' performance. So we shouldn't be so afraid giving more responsibility to the students, that they can maybe put together their own textbook, or at least a chapter or something like this about a particular aspect. Great.
Right, and CK12 started with their Flexbook concept, and making their books customizable. But I think this is taking that a nice step further, and there is an analytics and assessment component to this as well that seems to be emerging. So, definitely an extremely modern approach to the textbook, if you can even call it that anymore. Which I think Audrey Waters would be more than happy to see that textbook thrown out the window, and I can't say that I blame her in that.
Yeah, or tech grouch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Very interesting talks, also with our guest, Richard Byrne, with you as every week. You wrote about the Moodlerooms acquisition by Blackboard over at ZDNet. So we put that in the show notes, and of course all the all the links to the articles and stories we mentioned this episode. And well, I think we can slowly wrap this up and tell you all that's it for this week, and hopefully see you next week on Review Ed again.
Absolutely.